Welcome to the Lost in Translation podcast. I'm your translator, Holly.
And I'm your translator, Robin.
Today,
Holly, the internet is full of shit.
Yeah, I'm on the internet chronically all the time.
Absolutely full of shit.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the chronically on the internet all the time.
No, specifically what I mean by shit is it's full of propaganda.
That's generally what it is.
Yeah.
It's just for anything.
Honestly, it feels like if you just search for stuff about trans people online, it feels like most of the stuff that comes up is just propaganda. I mean, we talked about this on like the very first episode. It's hard to like get real information to people because there's so much bullshit that people are reading online.
I think one thing, this is also like for other things too. I think this also works for like different countries as well. Like if they want to spread propaganda through like ads.
Oh my God,
I know Brazil at one point, this is very weird, but I know Brazil at one point when they were doing like somebody's public campaign speech, the people were using WhatsApp and spreading homophobic messages.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they did was spread disinformation about the political activist against them by, saying that he was a gay and he liked gay people and he wanted to introduce new gay bills. We're going to talk about a little bit of disinformation. More specifically, let's go over the stuff that's in circulation that people know aren't true, but...
Yeah, the main thing that I see is there's a lot of people. First of all, there's a lot of long disproven ideas about trans people that are going around on the internet. And a lot of the people who are spreading these ideas also know that it's been disproven. They don't care. They're essentially just lying to everybody about it,
Mm-hmm.
And, your random like aunt or uncle or grandma, they're not necessarily out doing fact checking and stuff. Like they see something on Facebook or something on Google or whatever. They're like, oh, okay, I guess that's true because the internet said it.
Like, how so?
There are literally organizations and people out there, like rich ass people out there who hate trans people and gay people, and they don't want our way of life to exist. They engage in these campaigns to spread lies about us, like 100%.
The Family Research Council?
Yes.
The Heritage Foundation?
You got your Family Research Council, your Heritage Foundation. There's like a lot of different ones. Like I was researching some of this stuff, and there's like
what did they say?
A lot of big groups that do this, just like spread lies on the internet.
What lies?
What lies?
Yeah, what lies?
Well, we can get into more specifics further on in the episode.
Oh, okay.
We'll like hit a couple more specific ones, but I can throw out like a few things that I hear coming up a lot, and we can get into more detail with some of them later.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much stuff people are talking about, like sports and bathrooms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't even need to like tell people what that is because it's like all over the place. Like kids become trans because they're abused. Lots of fun ideas about how people quote unquote become trans when like you don't become trans, like
detransitioning too. That's the one.
Detransitioning.
They love to hit on that.
Oh my God.
Suicide with dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's like so many things. It's frustrating with me sometimes because like people who don't know a lot about trans issues will have conversations with me about certain things. And as a trans person who's spent so much time like researching this stuff for myself, both before and after coming out, I know a lot of the really common like myths and lies and stuff that have been disproven. And like what's popular on the internet, when somebody brings up a lot of stuff, I'm like, oh, you've been on the internet.
Like
I've
people
heard this
bringing up
1,000
detransition
times.
rates is not a new thing.
Oh yeah, seriously.
Especially if they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't detransition. I'm gonna get this one out of the way right now because I want to talk about this because my mom brought this up to me when she was like, trying to do this. Detransition is not a common thing. No. I'll tell you that. It's so uncommon. It's like really rare. I think people have like regret about it. It's like 2 in 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close.
If you actually read the specific survey results, where people are getting these detransition rates, it's like very much manipulated because the actual results, almost all of the people who say they had a negative experience physically transitioning, it's because, they didn't get the results that they were expecting, or maybe like if they had a surgical operation of some kind, maybe the doctor didn't do a great job, or, there's a lot of reasons that you can be dissatisfied with your transition other than like, oh, I'm not trans now, That's like extremely
Right.
uncommon.
Of course.
But yeah, there's a lot of people, like I said, they know this isn't true. They're still spreading it because they want to spread bad ideas about us to other people. One person, I was listening to an episode of the Anti-Trans Hate Machine yesterday, which is a super cool podcast. Real bummer of a podcast, but it goes into like a lot of the background of where these conspiracy theories and stuff are coming from. But Holly, you remember who Betsy DeVos is?
No.
She used to be the Secretary of Education for Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, everybody we
yeah.
love Betsy DeVos.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that people don't like about Betsy DeVos. But one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is that herself and her family are incredibly wealthy and they spend so much money in these campaigns to like spread transphobic information and stuff like that. It's seriously like, if you hear them talk about it, it's the DeVos family mission to like make sure nobody's comfortable being trans. They are weirdly like super into this. And they spend millions,
especially Google. And it's not an attack specifically against Google, but it's mostly to the people with
they have really good lawyers. So we'll tread lightly.
Oh yeah, tread lightly. Nothing against Google. Nothing against the company, the other company that we're going to talk about, because Google is not the problem. I'll tell you, Google is not the problem. It's the people that are paying the money that's the problem. Because the more amount of money you dump into Google, the more amount of ads like at the top of the screen. Whenever you search up like something gay or something trans, which is what James Somerton probably did to steal most of his content or all of his content. The ads come up at the top of the screen and they're very prominent in the search terms. Also, kind of it comes up a little bit higher in the search terms whenever you search for it.
Yeah, so first of all, you can literally pay Google to like promote it. And it will say like in tiny letters, sponsored content or whatever.
Yeah.
But like people don't necessarily read that stuff. They're still going to click on it first. And then also, if you have enough financial resources, you can pay companies to do search engine optimization, the SEO, which is basically just how you set things up and promote things in a way that will make them pop up in the search engine. They're basically like hacking the way the Google algorithm functions, and they know how things work, and they will arrange things for you in a way that your stuff's going to come up on that first page of Google. This is a thing where if you're like the Betsy DeVos's of the world who have a lot of expendable income and a lot of opinions, like you can just make this stuff happen. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
You got to remember some of these companies, specifically Google, they're 100%, their entire business is selling data. They're data brokers.
Right.
I did some like training courses through Google because they do a lot of like tech training stuff. And in their videos, they are extremely open about like they are very proud of their business with data. They're very good at it. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. That is what they do. But the Googles and the Metas of the world will take money from pretty much anybody.
Well, I mean, they're giving them money. Why would they question it?
100%. Yeah. It's just capitalism. They'll take anybody's money. There's nobody fact checking, and there's no government accountability or like anything. Like they
the same thing goes for like YouTube, because it's like it's made by Google, so they run on the same kind of rules. So yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, controversy gets you views. There's definite incentive for just like saying crazy stuff on YouTube, like stuff that gets people riled up. Because
I bought 1 million guns and I'm going to explode them all. Like and subscribe for more.
I'm just imagining like a super transphobic Mr. Beast.
There was.
I bought 10,000 detransitions.
You know, there was actually somebody that was like conservative and like a Mr. Beast. I'm the conservative Mr. Beast. I shot 1 million Bud Lights.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Famously, YouTube basically created or popularized the QAnon conspiracy.
Oh, of course.
Because it's just the algorithm is fucked. The algorithm just like works in a way that you watch a little bit of a video and it gives you a little bit more and it gives you a little bit more. It's like
and then you think that there's an invisible man that's inside of the White House making everything.
Yeah. Is that not true?
No.
Oh.
What the?
Oh my God.
That's not the president.
Meta, Facebook, Instagram, our buddies under the fearless leadership of Mark Zuckerberg. They are they're very bad at this. They will take their money from anybody in dollars or rubles, you know. Remember the whole Cambridge Analytica thing?
Yeah.
During the election, that's like one of the rare situations where they kind of, I don't know if they really got in much trouble. I know Zuckerberg had to talk in front of Congress a bunch of times and it was super painful and cringy and kind of funny, but really hard to sit through. But they were like literally taking payment in rubles from Russians to promote conspiracy theories on Facebook because, you know, the user base of Facebook is mostly older people. Who, again, don't know to like fact check and stuff like that. They're like, I don't know, it popped up in my feed or whatever. I haven't been on Facebook in years.
Me either. It's full of like old people and people liking AI generated art now. You know, like what is it? Kid making out like of sculpture out of bananas or something. I don't know. Or like trash. And they're like, oh, that's cute. I'm like, Mom, don't you know that's AI generated? That's not real.
So I deleted my Facebook account a couple of years ago because I was just like, fuck Facebook. They're terrible people. Please sponsor us, Facebook. Please give us dollars and rubles. But I deleted my account eventually. But before I deleted it, I was like, I just want to like peruse a little bit. Before I delete this, I just curious about what people were up to from like people that I haven't talked to in years. And it was absolutely bonkers. Some of the stuff that these people reposting and stuff, some of these people that I knew from like way back in the day.
Right.
Just like nuts, like radicalized far right. A lot of people who were like totally chill before. Like, what happened to you?
That's weird.
Yeah. So that's Holly, so if you're somebody out there, especially if you're like not a trans person and you're trying to like find information, learn some stuff about us, what are some things that people could do to like try to find better, more reliable information?
So use a non-for-profit search engine. I would not assume that DuckDuckGo is a reliable search engine.
I'm not sure.
But
I haven't really looked into that.
Yeah.
I use like the Brave search engine because my main browser is Brave, which is basically like a Google Chrome clone. And it's basically just like Chrome without it collecting all your data and selling it essentially. Because like Chrome is just a data collection device. But anyway, so I use the Brave browser, which is pretty good. And it has like a built-in search engine, which as far as I know, they're not getting paid for that stuff, but there are a lot of options out there.
I currently use Opera GX. That's probably not a great idea because that's like a Chrome, but with gamers. It's based off of Chrome code.
Yeah.
So it might not be great.
A lot of the alternate browsers out there are, but
yeah,
I think the main thing is that they're not like using it to collect all your data, at least not to the same extent that Google is.
But one thing that you can check is assume everything is false unless proven true on the internet.
Yeah.
This especially goes with anything, but just with trans people too.
People can say absolutely anything. You definitely got to check, like, where is this person getting their information from? Who are the people posting this also reposting, you know? Get a feel, number one, for if the person posting is trustworthy. And number two, look more in depth about it. If it's giving you some, like, information about trans people or whatever, like, look up where this information come from. Are there other sources that are confirming this, you know, stuff like that. And it's like a little bit of extra work, but you don't have to like go to the library and like dig into the books and stuff like that. You can just do it like a little bit. Another thing that I would definitely recommend is ask a trans person, you know, to recommend some books, podcasts, YouTube channels, whatever.
They're probably going to have an easier time finding it rather than you are.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time like perusing the internet, trying to find people who are good sources of information. We have podcasts that we listen to. We have some really good books that we've recommended on the show before and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, on our Discord, there's a section where I just post books that we've mentioned on the podcast and how you can find them.
Right.
and some links to queer small businesses. I like to link people to Sapphic Sweets and Reads. It's like a mom and mom shop in Kansas. It's a trans lesbian couple who have started a small bookstore that they operate online, and a lot of really good books that are resources for trans and queer issues.
Right.
So I recommend checking people like that out too, instead of just like searching for trans in the search bar on Amazon.com or whatever.
Yeah. You won't get a lot of good things coming out of that. You might get some things, but you might not get great things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And it's always good to like support the authors and the people making the content.
Right.
When you buy a book on Amazon, like the author's getting almost no money from that. And like it's good to buy the book and everything, but it's nice to give them a little financial support too. So, Holly, you want to get a little bit into a couple of common myths so we can just kind of give an example of stuff that you hear a lot?
I mean, yeah, sure. One that's a huge myth is that the detransition rates, like I said, that thing is like next to zero. So
yeah,
it's like 1%, maybe not even 1%. Like I don't even know what it is, but it's like insanely small.
And that also ties into one that I've heard a lot from people, which is that a lot of people are saying that people become trans like because they were abused as kids and stuff like that. Either you were abused or you were a product of neglect.
No.
Your father wasn't fatherly enough or your mother wasn't motherly enough and now you're trans, which is like obviously not true. But one thing that I've read recently that was really good to hear is that, first of all, people have researched that a lot. Like there's been a lot of studies done on that. And there's absolutely no proven correlation between being abused as a kid and like being queer, you know? And I think people will reference the statistic that a lot of trans people, especially like a lot of trans kids, have been sexually assaulted as kids or otherwise abused. And the reason why that number is pretty high is because a lot of kids get abused, sadly. And the numbers aren't higher for queer kids. And it's really easy to just, cherry pick the data. You can like say, oh, I'm using data, but you can do a lot of things with data. So I say like this percentage of trans kids were abused. And then you look at how many of all kids were abused and it's going to be like the same number. So that's not causing it.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I've read a couple times that has helped me a lot work through some things is what the research actually says is that all evidence points to the idea that gender identity for pretty much everybody is established by the time you're like 2 or 3, basically like when you're gaining consciousness or whatever.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean like you're a 2.5-year-old kid and you're like, mommy, I'm trans or whatever. That's not really how it works.
Yeah.
But like most of the things that influence that aren't like, oh, I had like a bad interaction with an uncle or a teacher or something when I was in 5th grade, That's not what's influencing you. Most of it is kind of already decided. Like you kind of are who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
The other fun thing that I read is that for kids who come out as trans by age 5, there's like very low percentage of kids who will like change their minds farther down the road. But if you come out by the time you are in your adolescence, there's almost a 0% chance that you change your mind. Like it basically doesn't happen.
Right.
Like Holly was saying about with the detransition numbers, it's like the genuine amount of people who are like, never mind, I'm not trans is almost no people.
Right. So another thing that could also be a bad thing, I guess, is the bathroom situation.
It's a terrible situation.
It's a bad thing. People try to stick us outside of the bathroom. So we can't pee.
Yeah. So funny thing about these claims that we've all heard so much about now, that both trans people and people just saying, oh, I'm a trans woman so they can get into the women's bathroom and they're like assaulting people in bathrooms. Funny thing about that claim is that literally it hasn't ever happened. There's at least like no reported instances of that ever happening. I know like a few years ago, Politico did a really in-depth study about this. And they were talking to, there's a lot of cities and school districts and colleges and stuff that have put rules in place protecting trans people's ability to be able to go in the bathroom that corresponds with their gender, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, somebody at Politico talked to everybody that they could find, basically, like police departments, school security, everybody who would have been involved in like any of this stuff actually going down. And they could not find a single case of it ever happening. And I've never once heard somebody provide a real example of anybody being assaulted in a bathroom by somebody pretending to be a gender that they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a targeted thing. It's not like...
They're not doing it to make the bathroom safe. No. They're doing it to make us feel unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are actually harmed by it, though.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, trans people, you're at actual risk of violence if you have to go into the wrong bathroom, especially like as trans women and trans girls. I have literally had nightmares about accidentally going into a men's room. I'm like, oh my God, just that feeling of unsafety. I don't want to be like in a situation where a transphobic man could like assault me. True. Those people, the transphobic people, are the scary people.
Yeah, exactly.
Also butch lesbians. I have literally like heard a lot of stories about butch lesbians who like got chased out of bathrooms by other women in the women's rooms. They're like, I'm not trans, I'm just a woman. I'm just like, I have short hair. Like, why are you just trying to chase me out of the bathroom?
Right. I just don't go in gendered bathrooms at all.
So yeah. I have one more thing.
One more?
I have one more thing.
Okay.
Let me give you like a 30-second answer to the question of trans women in sports. The answer is that the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, has recently decided their official policy for can trans women compete with cis women in like the same categories in the Olympic. And their official policy is if you have been on estrogen for a year or longer as a trans woman, then you can compete in the Olympics, which is like, it's a really high standard to get in the Olympics. And, you know, famously, like they are very crazy with screening for performance enhancing drugs and stuff. Like people have gotten banned from competing because they had marijuana in their system, which I don't think is a performance-enhancing drug, but I guess, like, it helps Shaun White.
Right.
But, yeah, and they've actually come out and said, we did the research, and after you've been on estrogen for a year, you're actually, like, you have a competitive disadvantage against cis women.
All right. I got you.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, fuck Betsy DeVos. Keep transphobes out of our bathrooms. You got anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you guys for sitting in on our little rant about why the internet is just a zone of shit. We don't like it.
Exactly.
It does a lot of good things too, but it does a lot of terrible things. So just like think about what you're reading when you're reading it online.
Yeah.
Cool. I have been your translator and ranter, Robin.
I've been your translator, Holly.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.